So when someone says the word witch, what image immediately pops into your head?
Right.
Because for a lot of people, that image is just, it's so rigid, a tired, often cartoonish stereotype. But if you're actually curious about the practice, you know that label just completely collapses.
It holds none of the nuance, not at all. And that's exactly what our source material today really wants to fix. We're looking at this comprehensive guide to all these diverse spiritual paths.
Okay.
And the core finding right out of the gate is that witchcraft is not a single monolithic thing. It's definitely not one religion.
Right.
It's more like a vast, interconnected landscape.
A landscape defined by tradition, personal expression, all that.
Exactly. And a specialized focus.
Okay, so that's the mission for this deep dive for you, the listener, to explore that spiritual landscape and, I guess, map out just how vast this tradition is. We're going to look past the stereotypes and get into the real philosophical cores.
Precisely. We need to define the terms. And the goal here isn't finding one right way to do it. It's about understanding the freedom in the practice. The very definition is fluid, which is why the sources stress finding a path that just feels aligned with you.
And what's crucial, especially for anyone just starting out, is that the practice itself seems to encourage nonconformity. I mean, the sources say again and again that blending traditions, becoming an eclectic witch, is incredibly common.
Oh, it's very common.
It's like an intellectual framework that celebrates flexibility instead of demanding you stick to one school of thought.
That flexibility is probably the most modern and, compelling aspect of the whole movement right now. It just acknowledges that the world is way too rich for any one discipline to hold all the answers.
So we've synthesized 12 distinct paths from the source material. To organize this deep dive, we're kind of categorizing them. We've got the earth-grounded and traditional, the mundane and domestic, the elemental forces, and then the ones defined by structure and energy.
Right.
Let's start with those foundational paths, the ones connected to the wild and ancient places.
We have to begin with the green witch. It's often used interchangeably with nature witch, and it's really the epitome of ecological spirituality. The practice is all about this sacred, intimate partnership with the living world.
So plants, cycles, ecosystems,
Everything.
they believe the earth itself is sacred, right? And that every plant, every animal has its own spirit. But what really separates them from, just someone who loves being in nature?
It's a concept of active participation. That's the key. For a green witch, a garden isn't just a hobby.
It's a living altar.
It's a living altar, exactly. And their magic is inherently slow. It has to be patient because it moves with the seasons. They don't just, pull herbs out of the ground. They ask permission. They leave offerings. Their spellcraft is making salves and teas.
That makes perfect sense. Their power is dynamic then. It's tied to life, to change. But right after that, in our materials, we have the earth witch. If the green witch is all about that dynamic life, what's the key difference for the earth witch?
And that's where the nuance is so important. There is overlap, of course, but the earth witch focuses less on the living plants and more on the permanent structure.
The bedrock, the soil.
Bedrock, the minerals, the stones, they're the stabilizers. Their practice is all about grounding, physical stability, and connecting with the profound age of the land itself.
So if a green witch works with a plant for healing, the earth witch might work with a crystal for, say, permanence or structure.
Exactly. That stone holds energy and history over eons. And earth witch is heavily invested in crystal work, grounding exercises, honoring local animals, all the raw, unmoving foundations of physical reality. They embody this calm, steady, nurturing presence.
Fascinating. So we've gone from the living to the stable, and now we move to the more traditional and often more solitary paths. This brings us to the hedge witch.
The hedge witch is a practitioner who's really rooted in traditional European folk practices. They deliberately exist outside of modern systems, like Wicca.
They're often defined by their relationship with boundaries, aren't they?
Yes, that's the core of it.
The sources call them the folk bridge. That description suggests movement between worlds. How does that actually play out in their practice?
Well, the core belief is that the hedge is a metaphor. It's the veil between our mundane world and the spirit world. And they specialize in crossing that boundary.
Okay.
This is where you see intense spirit working with local land spirits, ancestors, and practices that involve trance states or even astral travel.
Yeah.
They're literally acting as spiritual conduits, bringing knowledge back from the other side.
And if the hedge witch is focused on the local, the liminal, Then the traditional witch takes that history even further back.
Correct. Traditional witch usually refers to those who practice the older, often regional European crafts that predate the modern formalization of Wicca. Their practice tends to be more primal, less formalized.
So we're talking about the practices of the historical cunning folk, then.
Absolutely. Their practices include honoring local, often unnamed, spirits,
Mm.
using very specific old charms and blessings, and engaging in these highly personal, non-standardized rituals. It's an intensely localized craft.
That wraps up the earth-grounded and traditional paths. So if their power source is the wild or ancestors or the deep earth, what happens when we bring that intentionality indoors? Can the home be a focal point of magic?
That question brings us directly to our next category, where magic meets the routine of daily life, and specifically to the kitchen witch, also known as the hearth witch.
This one feels so relatable. It's about weaving magic directly into the mundane things, cooking, cleaning, taking care of the home.
Their core belief is the concept of immanent magic, that the home is the most sacred space, the hearth is the altar, and your intention can be carried through everything you do in that space.
Mood carries energy. Domestic tasks become spell work.
Exactly.
Can you give us an example? How does a kitchen witch turn a simple action into magic?
Okay, think about baking bread. It's not just yeast and flour. A kitchen witch might intentionally need protection into the dough, maybe stirring clockwise, which is often associated with attracting positive energy while focusing their intent on the family who will eat it.
And cleaning.
Cleaning the house isn't just about dust. It's a form of energetic cleansing. You're sweeping out stagnation and bringing in fresh energy. It's all about using simple ingredients, herbs, spices, water, salt as magical tools.
It's the ultimate fusion of utility and spirituality. Practical, comforting magic.
It is. It stabilizes the practitioner because it links their spiritual life directly to their physical survival and comfort.
All right, shifting gears now. We move from the stability of the home to the more dynamic, untamed forces of nature, the elemental witches. Let's start with the force that governs so much rhythm in our lives, the moon witch.
The moon witch is guided entirely by the lunar cycles. They recognize the moon's huge influence on energy, on intuition, and on spiritual power. For them, the moon is the primary timekeeper for all magical work.
We all know the moon affects the tides, but how does that translate into specific practices for a moon witch?
Their entire practice is aligned with the moon's shifting light. So new moon rituals are for planting seeds of intention.
Starting new projects, things like that.
Exactly. And the full moon is the peak of energy, so that's used for manifestation, for high-powered spell work, for release rituals. They use the moonlight to cleanse and charge crystals, tools, even themselves. It's all cyclical.
That deep connection to water cycle leads us right to the sea witch. What's the difference between the moon witch's focus on cyclical water and the sea witch's connection to, actual bodies of water?
The difference is really between time and raw power. The moon witch is all about the rhythm of the tides. The sea witch is connected to the primal chaos, the depth, the sheer emotional power of the ocean itself, or rivers, or even rain.
So their magic is more visceral then, using physical things.
Absolutely. Their tools are gifts from the ocean, collecting seawater for rituals, using shells for divination, incorporating driftwood or sand into their spell work. They are drawn to matters of deep emotion and change.
And if the sea witch is fluid, then the fire witch is pure, concentrated energy, transformation, passion.
And the intense willpower needed for creation, and sometimes for necessary destruction. Their magic relies on intensity and inner strength. Fire is the element of immediate change. So their practices are things like candle magic, bonfire rituals.
Burning written intentions.
Yes, ritually burning written intentions to rapidly transform a desire into reality.
And they're often associated with spells for courage and confidence, right? Is that connection to will and self-determination really core to who they are?
It is the fuel. Fire witches understand that sometimes things just have to be consumed or purified before anything new can begin. Their practice is fast, intense, and it requires a lot of control, just like the element itself.
And rounding out the elements, we have the one most connected to us right now. Intellect, communication, clarity, the air witch.
Air witches believe that words fundamentally shape our reality. They focus on thought as a form of magical energy and the breath as the force connecting the body and the spirit. They are masters of information.
So their spell work is very language-based, written and spoken.
Yes, very much so. They specialize in chanting, spoken spells, sigil work, writing magical affirmations. They work with wind, incense smoke, feathers, tools to carry their intentions. It's no surprise the sources note this path attracts writers, teachers, people who rely on clarity of thought.
It's a powerful reminder that even magical fields acknowledge that language is a fundamental tool for shaping reality.
Of course, every piece of information we take in is shaped by the language used to deliver it. The air witch just understands the magic in that process.
Moving on to our final category. Let's look at paths defined by really specific energy focuses and practice structure. First up, the incredibly specialized practitioner, the Crystal Witch.
This is a real deep dive into geology and energy. The Crystal Witch focuses exclusively on working with gemstones and minerals for healing, for amplification, for magic.
What's the fundamental belief there? That a rock has inherent energy.
They believe crystals are essentially tools, amplifiers that carry unique, consistent vibrational frequencies. They believe stones can store ancient wisdom and can be precisely programmed for specific purposes.
Emotional, spiritual healing.
All of it. And they apply this knowledge through very structured work. They create these intricate crystal grids, geometric arrangements designed to amplify and direct the stone's combined energies.
For a very focused goal.
A very focused intention, yes. Like attracting prosperity or providing intense protection. They're kind of the laboratory technicians of the craft.
Okay, now let's pivot to structure, starting with the solitary witch. This path isn't defined by what they practice, but how.
Exactly. The solitary witch chooses to work alone, independent of a coven or any formal group. Their core belief is that their spiritual path is deeply personal and that independence actually strengthens their magic.
That seems like an intensely focused road. It must require a lot of self-reliance.
It is. Their practice involves intense self-study, self-designed rituals, and this is crucial private journaling in their own Book of Shadows or grimoire. They are their own authority, which demands incredible dedication.
And the sources do note that a lot of practitioners start here, right, to find their footing,
Many do, yes.
and that fierce independence brings us full circle to the ultimate structural path for the modern learner, the eclectic witch.
The blender, the curator, the synthesizer. The eclectic witch just refuses to be confined to one specific tradition. They intentionally blend elements from many different paths.
Hedge, kitchen, Wicca.
Folk magic, planetary magic, whatever resonates with them personally.
So their practice is driven by the idea that spiritual truth is personal and that no single tradition has all the answers. It's a path that basically encourages experimentation.
It allows for maximum evolution and flexibility. They might use a Celtic chant one day, a crystal grid the next, and bake a protective charm bread the day after. Their Book of Shadows is this incredibly diverse reference library, constantly being updated.
So this whole deep dive, looking at 12 different paths, all stemming from one label, what does it really teach us?
It just reiterates the central idea we started with. The definition of witchcraft is as varied and individualized as the people who practice it. Whether you're working with the primal forces of the sea witch or the careful intention of the fire witch, the emphasis is always the same. Intention, authenticity, and respect for your sources of power are far more important than the label you choose.
And that message has incredible relevance for you, the learner, no matter what topic you're getting into. Just like there are many types of witches drawing energy from different sources, there are so many ways to approach knowledge. The goal is always connection.
Your path is yours alone. Trust it. And this is the provocative question the sources leave us with. If we accept that practices like witchcraft are constantly evolving, constantly blending, and the eclectic path is the perfect example of that, what other fields of knowledge might we be wrongly trying to confine to a single, static definition? What does that freedom of the eclectic approach teach us about learning itself?
Something to ponder on your next deep dive.